And welcome back to the TS Entertainment channel. I am joined tonight by the Bell Perspective. What's up, sis?
Hey.
You're in the building with us.
Yes, I couldn't wait for Friday to come. I was like, yes, I get to run my mouth.
I couldn't wait for the Friday too. I was like, I hope she's back this week because we got some things to talk about.
Yes.
And of course, we
Yes.
got the first lady of TSFE in the building, Miss Really B TV in the house. What's up, B?
Hey, y'all.
Hey, hey.
Hey.
Hey,
Hey, hey.
Hey. Good. Hardest working woman on the internet.
I'm trying to tell you, she's the hardest working lady on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
All
I don't know
right.
about all that, but okay.
No, it's the truth. It's the truth.
Well, if you ain't the hardest working, you definitely putting in the work. So
Sure is.
we putting in that work.
Take that.
We'll take that.
Yes.
All right, so we are here tonight to talk about Bel-Air. It's season 2, episode 4. Don't kill my vibe. All right, before I hit y'all with the intro, ladies, first thoughts.
Predictable.
Very predictable.
Yeah. I feel like I'm starting to feel like Power. I'm starting to feel like we're predicting the storyline every week. It is really not a lot of surprises. So I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if we that good or if the writing has gotten that bad. I don't know. But yeah, I agree.
I think it's just that we're that good. I think we're just that good. But I will agree with you. It's getting predictable now. Okay, we're at episode 4 right now. We need to be getting a little bit of plot twist at this point. Mm-hmm. We ain't getting no plot twist. We are predicting it damn near the entire episode.
Yes.
We're going to talk about it. I'm going to hit y'all with that intro real quick. We'll be back. And welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is having a good week. I hope you ladies had a good week. All right, so I don't even know where to start with this episode. One, I enjoyed the episode, but at the same time, I'm kind of like with Really B. I'm getting a little concerned because it is predictable. We knew that there were going to be consequences where Will was concerned. I think the only thing that we were kind of not really decided on whether or not Carlton was going to face any consequences or any of the other students were going to face consequences. And I kind of feel like Will was singled out. However, I do believe that Will earned his suspension. The episode started out with Will being angry because he was getting suspended for what he did during the protest, went up on the roof, dropped the banner, and tried to incite almost a riot. Mm-hmm. I enjoy how Carlton put him in his place by saying that he did a selfish act. Like, you didn't do this for yourself. You didn't know the teacher. You didn't do it for Ashley. You did it to usurp authority. And that's exactly what it was. He did it to usurp authority. We see Aunt Ville and Uncle Phil come in, and they did everything they could to try to keep him in school, but they had to break the news to him that he was suspended for a week, which I thought that was very lenient. But most importantly, he was kicked off the team indefinitely. And so, of course, Will throws a fit about that and, talks about how no one understands him. And it's just like Uncle Phil told him, and I agree with Uncle Phil wholeheartedly. Will, when are you going to take responsibility for your actions? And then as he's leaving,
oh my gosh, I could no, I'm sorry. I could have stood up and cheered when Uncle Phil said that because I was like, yes, when exactly?
Yeah, because Will, everything is about you, but you don't think about your actions and how they affect others. So as he's leaving the classroom, he gets a round of applause from the school. That's pretty much cheering him on or whatever the case may be. So he feels a little bit happier about that situation. What did y'all think about the opening scene?
I thought they were going to go in a different direction as far as Carlton is concerned, because the way Carlton responded to the fact that everybody was celebrating Will in that moment, I thought they were going to send him down that same spiral of being jealous of Will, and then they're going to go back to being kind of like bumping heads and pitting each other against each other. So that was my first thought. I was like, oh God, here we go. Not again. But they went in a different direction, so I was kind of happy about that. But that was my first thought of that scene.
I thought it was a great scene. I mean, predictable, but a great scene. I feel like what Carlton said was on point. When Carlton was like, "Listen, my dad gave you one job. Like, you pushed me. I told you I didn't want to do it. I told you I wasn't ready. And you kept pushing." Which he was absolutely couldn't feel like he was. I didn't feel like he was putting the blame on Will. I think he was trying to get Will to understand this is like, support me, yes, push me, no. And then later on in the episode, Will did it again. And so it just makes me think you really don't understand how you possibly trigger him. Sometimes it's somebody's process the way they need to process. And right. So I thought it was a great scene. I thought it was very self-aware of Carlton to be able to say, listen, you pushed me. I told you I didn't want to do it. I told you I wasn't comfortable, and you put me in an uncomfortable position, which pushed me into a panic attack. And so yeah.
I agree with you on that, Belle. I also shared that thought that Carlton, actually, that's what I kind of predicted that was going to happen this week. That didn't, so I was kind of glad it didn't. But I was kind of expecting for him and Will to kind of be at odds. And I think that if it would have went the direction that I thought it was going to go, and he didn't get nominated for the Founders Award, or if he would have gotten suspended as well, it may have went down that path. But because Carlton didn't really face any real consequences by participating in the protests, it was very easy for him to, kind of get over it. However, he did remind Will that, you had one job. My dad told you to look out for me, and you didn't. You pushed me, and then you could just kind of left me out there to deal with what I was dealing with.
And just to piggyback off of what Really B was saying, that's exactly what he did in that next step. We're going to get to that scene, but I kept thinking, and I wasn't here for last week's episode, but there are some people who are not, and I don't want to say the word, I don't know how to frame this without sounding offensive, so hopefully it doesn't come off as offensive, but some people just are not built. Let me say that. Some people are just not built to handle that much pressure and stress. And, there's a heavy mantle to bear when you're a leader or when you're pushing, a revolution, if we're, for whatever that's worth on this show. I don't think Carlton is built for that. Carlton seems kind of like more like a worker bee, working in the background, getting things done, staying in the lines, not doing too much. Obviously, Will has a bigger personality, and he has no problem with pushing the needle and being okay with accepting the blowback. Carlton not really built like that. So yeah, I'm just going off of what Really B was saying. It's just like he was pushed, and that's not. He not really built for that. So
I agree. Any follow-up, Really B?
No, I agree. And I think that Carlton is good in the position when right side of things. So had the speech been approved and everything was everything, right. I think he was able to speak. But like you said, in the face of the adversity, in the face of you going against the grain, you going against the status. Yeah, that's his lane. And it's okay. Right. And I think that's the part that we have to understand, that everybody isn't that person, and it's okay if you're not that
Yes.
person. Like it really is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
So we see Jazz and Hillary. They are, I guess, they probably may have spent the night together, perhaps, or something. I don't know. They're having a conversation over coffee, and Hillary kind of wants to set the day up and say, "Hey, let's meet for dinner." It was very interesting in their conversation because she mentioned about trying to go ahead and push this deal through with the Simply Spike lemonade, and that once she got that deal on the table, then H2 Ivy will be out of the way, out of the picture. Again, we talked about this last week, and we really didn't get your thoughts on it, Belle, because you weren't there.
Mhm.
But I do want you to revisit your thoughts on how do you think Hillary's moving with trying to um, bring this deal to the table, knowing that it's going to be in competition with her partner's product that she's trying to endorse, and the fact that she's doing it behind her back and pretty much signing her up as well to endorse this product when she's already told her that her lawyers have said, "Listen, I can't endorse this product. I'll have my own product." But she's pretty much lying and saying that she can. So, what are your thoughts on how Hillary's moving?
I think Hillary is trying to, I guess, establish herself because there's been like a power struggle between her and Ivy. But what I think that Hillary is not understanding is that power is money. Well, part of it, a lot of it is money. And if you don't have the money, then you don't really have the power. So you're setting a trap for yourself in this because you have no stake. Like you don't have any skin in the game. You're literally at this point just doing little things on the side, and it's not going to go well for her. And I'm just waiting on Ivy to lay the hammer down and basically tell her, you work for me. I bought you. I'm waiting on, and this is going to be the moment where Ivy's gonna turn around and be like, I own you. You do what I say. So I'm just waiting on that. So that's what my initial thoughts.
Well,
I agree
um,
100%. I agree 100% when
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
go ahead, B.
I was just gonna say I agree 100%. I don't understand what Hillary doesn't understand. Like, you are the manager, you are not the owner. You are not in
Right.
charge. And the owner said no. That's it. The owner said no. Not understanding.
Nope. If you want to own something, get your own shit. Get your own stuff. Get your own. Like, go get your
Which
own.
she could have had an opportunity to get her own, even if she
Exactly.
didn't do it with that house. She
Yes.
could have done it in her own way. Hell, she
Exactly.
could have done that. She could have turned her pool house that she was living in her parents' house into a content creator space.
Right.
So, I mean, even if she didn't have the means to go out and buy the house, I mean, she's living in a mansion and living in her parents' pool house, just like Vivian took that room and turned it into her art studio. She could have turned that pool house into a content creator space or whatever the case may be. And you're right, Quinn. Uh, her goals have, and I mentioned that last week because her goals have kind of shifted and she's kind of realigned now with doing this content creator, and she's less focused on her culinary. Because when we first met Hillary, that's what she was doing. She was cooking meals, sharing recipes, and things like that. But someone mentioned last week in the comments that they think it's because of her little thrust with the thirsty chef thing that she's kind of pulled back off of the cooking, because she knows that if she post regular cooking content like she used to, people are not going to be interested in that after she's done the thirsty chef. So now she's trying to work the business angle of it, and she doesn't have business acumen. So in their conversation over coffee, Jazz mentions that, hey, well, she invites him to dinner, and he's like, no, I'm not going to be able to do dinner tonight. My parents are coming over. And she instantly, which I kind of got a problem with that because she instantly assumed that she was supposed to be invited because his parents was coming over. Again, it goes back to what Really B was saying about how she sprung the introduction of her parents to him. He wasn't ready. He wasn't ready to introduce you to his parents for whatever reasons he may have had for not being ready. At that time, he wasn't ready, and you kind of almost guilted him into making him ready to introduce you to his parents. And I felt like that was a little unfair because you chose to spring on him in such a way where he wasn't prepared to meet your parents. You weren't prepared to meet his parents either. But again, Hillary she jumps in feet first. And she doesn't think about how her movements are going to affect others, just like with this whole thing with the lemonade. She's just thinking that she's doing something that's going to push the brand forward, but really all she's doing is creating a bigger problem for herself.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say because I completely agree with you as far as like their relationship. The only reason why she had Jazz meet his parents, her parents, is because she was trying to prove to him that she's really serious about the relationship. There was no other
Exactly.
evidence for that. Like there was no other reason for her doing that. And the way this relationship was built, it was built on quicksand or it was built on sand. And I don't think it's going to work at all.
Yeah. It's slowly turning into quicksand.
Yes. Yeah.
You're right. She clearly wasn't ready to meet his parents. I agree. She feels it was an obligation. I agree with that statement
Mhm.
as well. Vivian's over at her art studio. She tried to get some work done, and it seems like there's some type of showcase that she's planning for her artwork. And I thought it would have been a perfect time to introduce Lisa as her assistant in helping her plan this event. That's what I thought we were getting ready to see.
Yeah,
But
me
we
too.
see Will's on his phone, kind of sulking. He's watching maybe a game or something. And she was like, listen, I don't mind you being in here with me, but can you put your headphones on? Like you distracted me. Uncle Phil, well, then they didn't have a conversation where she mentions, well, what about the AAU team? You know, and then he then goes on to say that, well, every time I mention the AAU team and Doc to Uncle Phil, he shuts it down. And she tries to give him supportive, positive advice, but at the same time, you can kind of see that little twinkle in her eye that she's going to get involved. And I know I said earlier on that I really didn't want to see much of Will's mother this season, but I think at this point it's a little unrealistic that we haven't heard from his mother and hadn't seen his mother. Like at the very least, there should have been a phone conversation between him and his mom about the whole thing with Lou, about him moving back into the house, even with him getting suspended from school. I find that very unrealistic that his mom would not respond to any of these things that are happening in his life as she was so heavily involved last season.
Right. Even signing him up for a contract.
Yes. And her
That
not being
is,
involved.
and her not being it, that is major. So
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. I do.
Yes.
I agree with you.
And that would add a different element to the writing that we don't foresee. But the fact that she hasn't called, showed a text on screen from her, even a conversation between her and Vivian, like what's going on with Will? Like, you know, do I need to come out there? You know, I just find it a little unrealistic that we have not heard from his mother at all this season, and we're into the fourth episode. She's mentioned.
You didn't think about it until you said it, but you're right.
Yeah.
So Uncle Phil comes in with a list of chores for Will to do. And I agree. Just because you felt like you done something to stand up for what was right, you're still here. You're not here on vacation.
Right.
You're still here on a consequence. And because of consequences, I mean, you have chores. You're not gonna lay around here all day and just chill. You're gonna clean up and do something around this house. Fresher how to set the same thing. I never thought about her till you said something. Yeah, it's almost like they're writing her character out. And I don't want them to do that. Because even though in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will's mom only came around like on holidays and special episodes, But the way they started this season off, we really expected to see more of Will's mom involved, especially with the backstory between her and Aunt Viv. Like I would have expected her to be pulled up by now. So
I
Will
agree.
seems a little irritated because he's been given chores to do, but no, get on up and do this housework. um, so we're back at the school, and Miss Bassett approaches Carlton in the hallway, and she lets him know that the nominations for the Founder Awards are coming out, and he's on the list, or he's at the top of the list. I don't know this to be true or not. This may be more manipulation on Miss Bassett's part, but he's considered. Um, he doesn't
No, I
realize
think it's
that.
true
Yeah,
because that's what happened at the bowling alley. I think he's on the list.
okay, he's on the
Oh
list.
yeah.
Yasmin, unbeknownst to him, Yasmin overhears what Miss Bassett and him were talking about, and you can see in her reaction that she isn't happy for him. I'm a little irritated with Yasmin, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Um, what do you think about this whole Miss Bassett and Carlton thing? I mean, part of what she was saying to him was true, but I felt like she really she made that choice for him. She nudged him in such a way where he was kind of left with no choice but to kind of back off of giving the speech at the protest. In the back of his mind, all he could think about is, this is gonna mess up my chance.
Mm-hmm.
Do we fault Carlton for his decision?
I don't. Just after the conversation that we had, I think a week or two ago, where really B was talking about the position that a teacher that's sponsoring, these types of extracurricular activities and their role and how they're supposed to present options to the students, because that's what real life is about. The options that you have and you making the decisions on what may work out, based on those options. So I feel like obviously she had her own self-interest in doing that. And I was just disappointed in the fact that she, as a teacher, she as a Black woman teacher in a predominantly white school, didn't have his back, as far as like, okay, you don't want to shake too much of the table because there's an honor. You could be honored for something for this, right? But here's maybe some options that you can do where you can still shake the table as a Black person, right? Standing in solidarity, but also at the same time not tarnishing your. I don't know. I just didn't feel like she gave him options. I feel like she just manipulated him, and I'm really disappointed in that.
I
That's
agree.
just my final thought. Yeah, go ahead. Really be. I see your hand raised.
And we disagree with both of y'all.
Okay.
So, and what I mean by that is, and so what we were saying last week, once I heard the whole story, I have a different opinion. Once they met with the administration and we found out that the administration has rewritten the curriculum to be more inclusive, that the administration has tried to work with the staff, and they had this whole, this whole, whatever they called it, I can't think of the name right now, where they rewrote the curriculum to be more inclusive, and they did do things. I feel like that adds a different perspective. The fact that they did talk to teacher multiple times before they fired her. Now I don't agree that she should have been stifled in giving her students outside resources. Like, I don't agree with that. But again, it goes back to being an adult. Rules of the job. If you don't like it, then you do something else. You don't keep breaking the rules. And at the end of the day, this teacher broke the rules knowing to break rules. So she suffered the consequence of breaking the rules. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So from that aspect, I understand the position that teacher, as well as Carlton. Now, should she have held the award over Carlton's head? No, I don't agree with that. I think that was unfair for her to hold that over his head. But But educator, I saw it a little differently once I got more information. So,
but what about the piece though about her looking for that other job and trying to get that promotion? Like I don't. I
Yeah,
still
you
feel
didn't
like,
feel like she had motive or
yeah, like
ulterior.
right, like she didn't have a vested interest in trying to make sure she looked a certain way. I mean, I get what you're saying though. Like if you don't like the rules of
she
the
had motive
game,
to her. No, I understand what you're saying though. Did she have motive? Yeah, motive. Get a leg up. She was trying to get a promotion, and it wasn't going to look good if a whole mutiny happened under her watch. I get it, but like I said, I still feel differently once I still don't agree with the school. Not like I said, I don't agree with the fact that the school didn't want her giving kids outside resources and all of that. But I like again, you're fighting like if she were unjustly fired, then I would. To me, it's different. But in this situation, I don't feel like she was unjustly fired. I don't like the rules that was fired under, but she wasn't unjustly fired. Like the school followed a procedure. They talked to her. She was reprimanded. She was given warnings. She knew it was wrong. Now, again, we can say, well, sometimes you gotta, if the rules aren't right, you gotta break the rules, and I get all of that, but I'm just saying from the teacher perspective, I'm not gonna be mad at her for telling the kids, listen, y'all gonna put yourselves on a limb that you putting yourselves in a battle you can't win. Like you're not gonna win, and you're gonna end up suspended. You're gonna end whatever, and you ain't gonna win. This woman ain't getting her job back.
Quintessential,
They
yes.
they didn't split hairs. They did not split hairs. The rules were very clear. We don't have to like the rules, but the rules were very clear. They didn't split hairs to fire her. Rule. Period.
You're right. I do. You are right about that. There were rules, and she just didn't follow them.
Quintessential. It's.
I mean, that's what's going on right now. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Rachel. What you say?
No,
just like to go political for a second. See, I told you it's still not working. But anyway, to go a little political for a second, that's exactly what's happening down in the state of Florida right now. The governor of Florida passed a law that says that teachers are not allowed to provide resources that are out that violate the state's policy on decency and appropriateness, what have you. And there's a whole list of books that teachers are no longer allowed to introduce to their students, teach from, share with their students. Now, is the law ridiculous and unfair? It absolutely is. I don't like the law, but at the end of the day, until we change the law, however that's going to happen, you can make a decision. You can either follow the law and find a way around it that might not get you fired, or you can blatantly break the law. But if you break the law, understand that there are consequences to breaking the law. Right now in the state of Florida, it's a felony. If a teacher gets caught doing it, it is a felony. You will get arrested and you are going to jail, and it is a felony. So again, I don't think they were splitting hairs. So what book was reported? Who will report it? It doesn't, quintessential, you split hairs. I'm arguing with quintessential because she's my girl. I love her. You're the one splitting hairs now, because now you're saying, well, who reported it and what was the book? It doesn't matter. If the rules say that this teacher, that you are not allowed to provide students books that are outside of the approved list, and she's giving, it doesn't matter whether it was Ashley or Tommy or Sally, if she's giving books that are outside of the approved list as part of the school. Now, here's where it would have been different. If Aunt Vi had invited the teacher over to the house and she was not working in the teacher, and she brought books directly to the house to share with Ashley, then I would be like, nah, y'all splitting hairs, because she wasn't working in the capacity as her job. But her being at school, giving actual books at school. No, she can't do that. Okay, you said you're being clear. Yeah, and speaking from a teacher perspective.
So the biggest thing for me is, and not to rehash anything that's being said, because I mean, at the end of the day, she did break rules, and there's the same thing that we're trying to, the same point that we're trying to drive home with Will. There's consequences based on your actions, whether your intentions were good or bad. It's just the optics of everything. She being a black teacher, one of few black teachers in the school, it's just the optics that we have the bigger issue with, more so than with the curriculum itself. The curriculum is just part of the problem, but it's kind of like what Really B is saying, that until you go through the proper channels to address and make those changes, that doesn't give you the right to make your own rules. So I get that. And sometimes as adults, we have choices on whether or not we want to follow the rules or not, such as when we're driving. We know that it's the law for us to wear our seatbelts, but out of comfort, sometimes we may not want to wear our seatbelt. Sometimes we may not want to stop where the light is changing, or whatever the case may be. If you get caught, you get caught. You get your ticket, you pay your fine. If you don't get caught, it is what it is. So I think that's what this situation tells us, that no matter what position you play, wherever you're at as an adult or even as a teenager, you can't just make decisions that are convenient for you, that there's you not bear no consequences for that. So I think that's the biggest issue, is the optics. She being a black teacher, she got fired. Later on, Jasmine confronts Carlton, and I didn't think it was a time or place for Carlton to address the real reason why he didn't give the speech, and how he kind of, had a little meltdown or whatever the case may be. But again, she's putting more pressure on him, or she's putting him in a situation where it's about her and not necessarily about what, even if he didn't have anxiety, she should have taken into consideration that, okay, hey, maybe he just didn't feel comfortable with this because he didn't volunteer to give the speech. You all volunteered it for him, and you pressured him into agreeing to do so. So it wasn't that he let you down. You had high expectations for him that he wasn't even originally comfortable with. Okay. Lisa comes along and she tries to talk Carlton down, and let him know that she understands what he went through that day during the protest, and that he needed to tell Yasmin what happened. I disagree with that. I disagree with Will when Will told him that, well, you need to go tell Yasmin what's going on. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have to tell anyone. He doesn't have to explain himself to anyone why he chose not to want to participate in the whatchamacallit, because again, it wasn't a decision that he volunteered for. It wasn't a decision that he made. You all pressured him into doing so. And now you're get mad at him about it. So I have to agree with that.
Whose idea was it to do the walkout again? I can't remember.
I think it was Will's.
Oh, it was Will. Oh,
yeah. Will's idea to do the blackout. Okay. The blackout.
Okay.
Will's idea to do the blackout. And then Jasmine, whatever her name is, came up with the idea of him giving a speech when he was at the mansion. And he said, well, you're the president of the BCU. Why don't you give the speech? And she's like, oh, it's not, nobody's going to pay attention if it comes from me. So again, I feel like he was pressured into doing so.
I'll give you that. I have thoughts, but
go ahead, share those thoughts.
No, because it would just be in opposition to what you're saying. But
give me the Cliff Notes version then.
Okay, so I just kind of felt like maybe she thought it was a good idea and was like, man, Carlton's really in. He's really here with us at BSU. I want to give him an opportunity to really show that he's not Clarence Thomas, basically. I don't know. But also at this in your argument, I'm like, damn, she expects him to be, I don't know, Martin Luther King or something like that, and Malcolm X, and he not that. So that's why I can't really argue against you on that one, because
you know that he's not that good. He's not that dude. Now, if she would have asked Will to give that speech, and Will would have backed out on it, then I could understand her reception to that.
Right.
But he was already apprehensive from the get-go about the whole situation. He should have been the last person that you turn to for that type of thing. You should not, or either that you should have been there by his side. You, as the president of the BCU, you should have been there by his side to help him through that. You shouldn't have just put him on that spotlight by himself and just sit back in the audience and cheer him on. No, I think that should have been something that you supported him through.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with you on that.
Really, be thoughts? No thoughts?
I feel like it was a speeding train. And I think it just went too fast for everybody. I think once Will, because Will did start future walk out. I think once it was like a snowball rolling downhill. Like it just picking up steam. And I think that I do agree. There were multiple times when Carlton, whether he was being egged on by the teacher or not, there were times when Carlton was like, "Hey, I think we should do this. I don't think we should do that. Let's talk to administration. Let's compromise." So there were times when he did try to get out of it, and it seemed like the church is nicer than everybody. I do think they put Carlton on the spot, but I think we talk about using Carlton. They were using Carlton because Carlton. Remember what they said when he first went to the meeting? Carlton was like the non-black kid, the non-black. I don't want to sound insensitive when I say it, but he was that kid. He was hanging out with the white kids, and he did come. It was almost like, oh, Carlton come over to the other side. So if we put him up there, then the administration is going to know this is really serious because they used to us being black, but they ain't used to him being black. So let's use Carlton. And I feel like everybody was using him. The teacher was using him. The BSU was manipulating him. I feel like Jasmine she knew that she was. I feel like, which is all the more reason why he had that pressure on him because there was no right decision. There was no way to make everybody happy.
So after doing his chores, Will tries to approach Uncle Phil again about meeting with Doc. And, Uncle Phil's over it. And he's like, fine. He kind of gives in to Will's request and goes down to meet with him and Doc. And we see Doc and...
Oh, wait. Really got her church finger up.
Doc called Will. When Doc called Will, and we find out that ain't, and the reason why I said that because we find out that Aunt Viv went down there to talk to Doc, because Doc didn't call Will.
That's true. I forgot about that part.
You're right, Fresh. He may have went through with giving the speech had she not dropped that award over his head, and that was looming in the back of his mind the whole time, which takes me back to the teacher, and so that's kind of cloudy and murky at this point. But I do agree with that. I think he may have went ahead and given the speech had that teacher not mentioned anything about that award. So I agree with that comment. Yes, really, you do make a great point. Well, you did remind us of the fact that Doc did call Will and it was like, I heard you got suspended, blah, blah, blah. And the camera pans to Aunt Viv. She took her ass down there and had a conversation, which I felt like if that was, I get that she wanted men to do men business.
So wrong.
Yeah, she was very wrong. She was wrong because I almost thought that she had done wrote the check for the tuition and everything. Like, I almost felt like she went down there and paid for all of it.
That would have been even worse.
That would have been even worse. That's what I really thought she had done. But instead of letting men handle men business, she hadn't got involved prior to. And the reason why I say that was because she had just got finished having a conversation with Will about him and his uncle going down there and resolving this issue. She should not have gotten involved. if that would have been the case, you shouldn't have gave Will that advice because Will wouldn't have approached Uncle Phil and asked him to take him down there. She got involved in a situation that was going to only make the situation more difficult. Uncle Phil's already reticent about all of this. And the fact that she went down there is going to automatically make him against it because now my wife is getting involved without even talking to me about it. She was wrong for going down there. Regardless of what the optics were and her intentions or motives, she was wrong for getting involved, period.
She was.
So we get down here to the gym and Doc is giving them a tour and the facility is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
They have all kind of amenities. Now
So
we found out
$10,000 a kid. Shit.
$10,000 a kid and $500 a month.
It better be.
I feel like that was the Banks family pricing.
A percentage and a percentage of of all the money that they earn
In perpetuity.
in perpetuity.
And
Yeah.
perpetuity.
They go to the NBA and everything. Like that's crazy.
So basically, he gets paid for life.
Honestly, with that kind of money, I don't think that gym was nice enough. Quiet as a script.
Again, my perception of that, I feel like that was the Banks family pricing. I felt like that was special pricing just for the Banks.
Okay, I can see that.
I felt like that was.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe the tuition may have been half of that, maybe
Okay.
$5,000 and $500 a month,
Mm-hmm.
$10,000 and $500 a month. I felt like that was pricing just for the Banks,
Mm.
and I'll tell you later on as to why I feel that way.
Okay.
So Will is told to go upstairs to get a haircut, and of course, who pops up? Jackie pops up, and we find out that she works there at the gym part-time while she's going to school, and she's maintaining the 3.8 GPA. Everybody, this irritates me, but why every show everyone has to be the super smart kid? Why everybody got to be the super smart AP kid? She's in all these AP classes or whatever. I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Because that's the so-called black excellence.
That's the
trope.
black excellence, yes.
Yes, that everybody you got to be all the way up here if you black. So
DJ, you know why I feel that way, right? You know where I'm going with that. Yeah. So
wait, where are you going with that? Because
I'll just go ahead, since it's on my mind, I'm gonna go ahead and so at the end of the show, when Jackie walks in and he was like, "You did a good job." Even though Uncle Phil had redlined the contract and lowered the percentage, it maybe removed the impropriety, he still got the $10,000 tuition. So I felt like that was a come up for him.
Yep.
Not a major come up, but it's a come up nonetheless. I mean, $10K, that's a nice little piece of change, you know. For someone just walk into your office and give you a check for $10K, that's a nice little bag. I ain't turning down $10K. He still signed it. That's right, he still signed it. So, at the end of the day, he's still going to get a portion of Will's proceeds. Just not as much as he initially wanted. So,
but what was your point to Jackie? Oh wait, were you talking about Jackie or?
Yeah, when Jackie came in, I feel like initially we thought that Jackie was part of the pansy to begin with.
Yeah.
I think she was kind of used as bait.
You think so? I felt like she knew about it when he.
I don't think it doesn't feel like she was happy about it. It doesn't feel like, because she almost kind of felt like,
yes, that's what. But any other time, I feel like she would have been down for the shakedown with any other person
if she hadn't caught feelings, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're right about that, Bill. Any other time she would have been down with the shakedown.
Yeah.
I feel like this is what she does. This is her job. This is what she does, and I ain't even convinced that that's really her own. So
no, me either.
I ain't convinced about that part either. I agree with you on that. Yeah. I don't know, but just her reaction to when he said, "You did a good job," and she's like, "What?" Like it almost felt like she didn't really know that was the angle that her uncle was pursuing. It almost felt like she felt as though her uncle was truly interested in Will for his talent, not the fact that he comes from a rich family.
I
Her
don't know if I.
uncle, Will's talented, and that's a plus. But it's almost like he could care less about him being talented more so than he can about whatever money he can make off of Will. Is the way I perceived it. So we get to I guess we need to think about that a little bit more. I need to think about that a little bit more. Jazz is freaking out about his parents meeting Hillary, and he has every right to. And you know, he tries to prepare his parents for Hillary. And you know, and we find out, you know, of course, we already knew that Jazz was Muslim, and I really like this spin on Jazz's character. I really like this take in this reimagined version of Jazz. I really do. He's mature. He seems to be very level-headed. And so Hillary comes in and she's dressed in, you know, their attire. And she turns into a Muslim Wikipedia.
I cringed so bad through
I
this
hated
whole.
that scene too. I hated that scene. I just thought that she was doing
it
way
made
too
me
much
very uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable.
and embarrassing.
All of it.
Every part
And
of it.
a little offensive.
It was a little offensive.
Wasn't it? Okay, thank you. Made a
was
damn fool of
It was
herself. You right.
offensive in an ignorant way. It was offensive in an ignorant way. Because you know, it kind of reminds you of pink people when they try to communicate with us in black language.
That's exactly what
we
it is.
can't communicate any other way. Like, you know what I'm saying, homeboy? You know, it's offensive in that respect.
It is. Yes, that's exactly.
That's the way I took that. Like, you can't relate to me any other way. Right. And as Jazz told her as they were laying in bed, that really you would have been fine just introducing yourself to my parents and not this tailored version.
Right.
Because this is not your faith. This is not your walk. This is not your belief. You're just pandering.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's what makes it offensive as well. So I just felt like Hillary, she made a damn fool out of herself. You're right. She did. And I felt like she would have just came in there and she would have just been cordial, pleasant, dressed appropriately, that she would have got along just fine with those parents. She didn't have to put on any airs. And when you do those type of things in a relationship, that just tells me that you have yet to introduce to Jazz the real you. Again, it's this social media version of you that you're personifying all the time. And he was like, you didn't have to do that. That ain't what I wanted. Well, what I wanted was my girlfriend to meet my parents. So yeah, she just made a complete ass out of herself. She did it. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Y'all, what's going on with Jeffrey? What is going on with Jeffrey? Where are we going with this storyline? I think that is the only thing that we can't predict thus far. Right. Where are we going with this story?
I don't believe that he's doing anything against.
Is he trying to steal some money? What is he doing?
I mean, but why? Like, he showed that he's his friend. He showed him that Phil is his brother. They've put emphasis on making sure you understood that their relationship was solid and they go way back. Like, all of a sudden, he trying to plot and plan and steal his money.
I just said the money part, but he's plotting and planning something.
Oh, okay.
That's evident. That's evident that he's plotting and planning something. Now, it might be a little bit far-fetched to say that he's trying to steal some money or something like that. I was just using that to be facetious. But he's plotting and planning something. And you're right. They did make it a point to put emphasis on how close him and Phil was. And you're right. Quintessential, you are right. He's sidestepping. And I'm just trying to figure out what's up with that. Somebody help me understand because I'm
Well,
confused.
that's why Uncle Phil knows something's up. Yeah, that's how he knows something's up because he was like, I know him. Like I know him, so I know that something is up.
He ain't moving right, right.
Yeah.
He ain't moving right, and it's so
But I
ominous, and it's
think didn't we
so.
say last week that he's looking for his son? I feel like it's something dealing with his son.
Ooh, yes. I
Well,
forgot about that.
resourceful as Jeffrey is, I mean, he was able to find out what the law partner was doing. He was able to find Lou. He was able to get the drop on what's his name, the dude that was after Will. I would think that Jeffrey has the resources of his own to find his son. What could Phil possibly have done or be doing that would even keep Jeffrey? I mean, I know that's what we said last week, but in hindsight, and I think more and more about that, I just think about what could possibly be the case, unless Phil has sent the family away somewhere and gave them, some money for them to stay underground or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I really don't know where they're going with this arc. It's confusing, especially in the sight of the fact that he wanted his job back. And if Phil had been more receptive to him when he first came over and told him about Will and asked for his job back, I think we wouldn't be seeing this version of Jeffrey. But because Phil kind of just ignored him and sent him away, like go away, it seems like he's almost holding a grudge against Phil. And then they had this heartfelt conversation about, being loyal to each other and being family. And now you're back in the house and you don't seem to be happy to be there. You don't seem to be happy to be around Phil anymore. It just seems like your whole temperature has changed. It's cold. It's very ominous. It's very like, you're going to stab me in the back any moment now. Like I got to sleep with one eye open when you're in the house type deal. Like I'm getting a bad vibe from Jeffrey. And I really hope they don't make Jeffrey do something crazy because we really love his character.
I don't know. I don't feel it that way. I just feel like I really do feel like it's something fun. It's something I feel like I remember. And if I'm wrong, correct me because when they were talking, when Uncle Phil and Jeffrey were talking, when they would and Jeffrey was apologizing to him about Will and going too far. But the situation with Will, it just really reminded me of my situation. And Uncle Phil was like, yeah, we agreed, made a decision. You made that decision and we agreed on that, or something to that effect. So I feel like I agree. Jeffrey had resources, but I like maybe Jeffrey, it's almost like I'm gonna allow you to hide him. And the agreement is that I won't look for him. And so now that he wants him, he and Uncle Phil has the key. Like that's the only thing I could think of, because you're right. I don't think to hurt Uncle Phil or hurt the family. Not in that sense. I don't think it's that. Okay. I don't. But the other flip side, is, and this is my personality, so maybe I can understand from that point of view. I don't know if it's a Cancer thing or it's just a me thing, but me and you can be cool. We can be sisters. We can be brothers. We can brother and sister, whatever. And once it's gone, it's gone. I can be cool with you again. We can hang out again, but I'm never. And so, uncle shit. He said he cut below the belt, and he basically told him, "Listen, all that brother shit don't mean nothing. You're my employee. You work for me. So for me, that's what it is. Oh, okay, cool. Okay. Then I'm switching that foot. I'm turning that switch. I'm turning that switch. Cool then. We're not friends. I'm an employee. You're my boss. Cool. I'm gonna keep it there. I can be cordial. Maybe have a drink. I'll have a drink with you. You buy me cigars. Gee, thank you. I appreciate it. But all of that, like we used to do, sitting up here playing chess all night and shooting the shit. Nah, bro. I'm good. I'm good. But he left. He had he found somewhere to live. Whatever he did while he wasn't there. So from that point of view, I see it too. Like, bruh, like You don't just get to us and I flipped that switch. Something died when you did that. You hurt me. And you reduced me to an adult brothers. All right, cool.
Well, that definitely answers my question.
Yeah, I just have to agree with Really B because remember that part.
You know how? Yeah,
that part where Jeffrey was saying, "I'm just here to do my job," right? I think that's where he was. That was the phrase that made me think that what Really B is saying is right. And then the other part is, yes, it's a cancer thing because once you outside that gate, you'll never be back ever again. So it's definitely a cancer thing. Gang. Okay.
You know what? I was going to say something, but then I'm going to argue with my own self about it. So I'm not even going to say it because I understand and wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying. And as a person who actually responds in a very similar way with people, was it really that serious? Was that really that serious to tear apart a very close knit relationship? And all I want to say to that in my own response is people feel the way they feel about how they feel. People feel the way they feel about how they feel. So it may not be that serious on Uncle Phil's side, but on Jeffrey's side, it's like a knife in the heart.
Right. And remember, like, he didn't ask for it. He said, we just friends. I mean, not we just friends, but I'm your boss. You work for me. Oh, okay. Cool. Hey, if that's what you say you want, cool.
Got it. Facts. Say less. Carlton and Will. Will decides to talk Carlton and go into the BSU hangout, and we find out that it's a bowling outing. They're going out to like a bowling night. So Carlton and Will, they head out to the bowling alley, and there's a little get together, and there's some good moments between Will and Carlton. Carlton is basically trying to teach Will how to bowl. We found out that Carlton is a A1 bowler, and Will pretty much sucks, but he's having a good time. They're having a good time, and they're really having a good bonding moment. And of course, he peeps that Yasmin is there, and he encourages Carlton to go talk to Yasmin. And of course, he sees Lisa from across the room. He goes and speaks with Lisa. We learned that she pulled up with Drew, and Drew from across the room looking salty. So he comes up and he starts nicking at Will. Just making these little smart comments towards Will, which he's a dick. He's an ass. I never liked him from the first scene that they showed him. I was like, he's an asshole. He needs to get the hands.
He is an asshole, but I feel like he's more of an asshole to Carlton than Will. I feel like he's an
asshole to both of them. He's entitled, he's spoiled, and he thinks he's better than everyone.
I didn't get all that from him, but
it's the way he personifies. It's the way he personifies.
Well, then you can say that same thing about Carlton too. But keep going. Go ahead, because they have the same personality to me.
They have similar traits in their personality, but I think that Drew comes across very arrogant. And I think the biggest issue that I have with Drew is he tries to come across that I'm more black than you.
Oh,
I think that's the biggest issue that I have with him is that I'm blacker than you.
Yeah, but
I'm realer than you.
Yeah, but but
you don't know me. And I felt Carlton when he said that. When Carlton's like, you don't know me. You are basing that off of your perception of me, but you don't know how I roll. And so, of course, Will gets a text from. I felt like Will was kind of getting ready to go in a little bit on Drew. Had he not gotten that text from Jackie, when he got that text from Jackie, he was like, you know what? I don't need this. I'm out. And he left them to play in their own sandbox or whatever the case may be. Carlton then tries to approach Jasmine. Go ahead, really.
Will was wrong twice. First of all, would push Carlton into going. Carlton already told you that school was messed up, that everybody was treating him like the plague. Now, do that you need to allow him to stew forever in it? No. But I do think that you respect Carlton as saying, I'm not ready to face this right now. We literally just had a whole argument, put too hard, which caused him to have a panic attack. And now he's telling you no. He is saying, I'm good. I'm going to stay here tonight because that is not the environment that I feel like I need to be in. Now, if this were 2 months down the road, then okay, you've been having a pity party for too long. But can I get a minute? Can I get 24 hours? Can I stew it for a minute? Push him to go. Fine. And yeah, you're right. Once he got there, they were having a good time. They were in their own little bubble and they were having a good time. So the minute you get a text from some ass, now you're gonna leave me in an environment that I was comfortable going in. You know I don't want to be here. You know I'm sort of in enemy territory. You know I don't have any other allies here but you. You know I don't have anybody else here but you. You don't say, all right, Carlton, let's roll. Jasmine just hit me up. We're going to head out. You said, you good? I'm leaving. That was fucked up.
Yeah.
But we've talked about that a lot of times about, when you travel together in a group, you leave together as a group.
Together. Yep.
But I see it a little bit differently. I do agree that maybe you should have pushed Carlton to go if he didn't want to go. But just like Fresh is saying, when Carlton heard bowling, he was all down for it. However, what I do feel like Will was trying to do, I really do not feel like this was a selfish moment in this particular case with Will, was because he probably didn't want to leave Carlton behind and be at home stewing in his feelings and whatever the case may be. So let me get you out of the house. Now, what would have been a better suggestion was, okay, you know what? I'm not going to go to the BSU hangout. Let's go grab a movie. Right. Or let's go hang out or whatever the case may be, just to get him out of the house where he wouldn't be in a negative space where he would succumb to using again. So that's the way I kind of took it was, let me get my cousin out of the house. Let's go out and have a good time. Forget everybody else. Because as you said, when they got there, they were in their own bubble. They were in their own world. So it wasn't like he ditched them when he got to the bowling alley. Now, you're right. I would have had an issue with you leaving me too for some ass. Mm-hmm. But he felt like Carlton was big enough, strong enough to handle himself or whatever the case may be. If Carlton was in a weak moment and he would have left him behind, I would have had an issue with that. But Carlton was enjoying himself. He was vibing. So, he was like, oh, have a good time. I'm good.
He was enjoying himself with Will.
Yes.
He was enjoying himself with Will. He wasn't mingling with anybody else. The only other person he was talking was Lisa, but Lisa was there with a dude. So I understand what you're saying. If Will, hey, you don't want to go to the BSU, fuck it. Let's have a cousins night. It's gonna be me and you. Let's go to the movies. Let's go hang. Let's go do something. Carlton would have jumped at that. He would have jumped at that. But you took me to a place where I didn't want to go. Left me there. And yeah, he was having a good time with Will. He wasn't, and I agree with you. If he had started mingling, if Jack, whatever the girl name is that he likes, if she had said, Carlton, come sit with us, let's hang out, I'd have been like, okay, cool. But that's not what was happening. For me, that's how I looked at it. But again, that's my personality. If I say no, I mean no. Leave me the fuck alone. I said I don't want to go. You going, you leave me at the first opportunity. Yeah, we gonna have a problem.
Yeah, you know how I feel about that. You know how I feel about that. If we're traveling in a group and we're going to an event together and you ditch me, then I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
So he does take Will's advice, whether it was ill advice or not. He took Will's advice. He tries to go approach Yasmin and have a conversation with her. She gives him the brush off or whatever the case may be. And Drew from across the room minded their business when he should have been focused on his date. You all the way over here across the room minding my business. Come over here, somebody, just let it go. You thirsty, you this, you that. He's just trying to play Carlton to the left. And Carlton's like, dude, you don't know me. You know, they exchanged words or whatever the case may be, and Carlton gave him a fade that he earned. He asked for that fade.
I was proud of him in that moment.
Very proud of
Go ahead,
Carlton. I
Carlton.
was very proud of Carlton. Beat that ass.
Beat the brakes off his ass.
One thing Carlton ain't never been is a punk. Because remember last season Carlton was fighting. Carlton ain't never been no punk. Now he might be short, he might have anxiety, but Carlton got no problem. None. So I saw that coming. I said Carlton about to whoop his ass. Like I saw that. I said he about to whoop his ass.
He got what he asked for.
Show Liz got his ass beat.
And he got what he asked for, and he lost the girl. And you lost the girl at the same time.
And it was recorded.
Yep. But that was a very powerful scene.
Yeah.
That was a very powerful scene because Carlton found the courage to stand up to everyone and tell everyone, listen, I'm tired of living in this Bel-Air bubble. It's because of you all that I struggle with the things I'm struggling with now. I have anxiety. I have a social disorder problem, whatever. That's why I freaked out at the BSU meeting or whatever the case may be. It wasn't because I didn't want to do it. I had a panic attack. And, you know, everyone kind of felt sorry for Carlton or whatever the case may be. And, you know, Drew's the ass or whatever the case may be. For some reason, I don't feel like we've seen the last of Drew. I feel like Drew's still going to be a nuisance. But going back to what I said earlier in our what to expect for this season 2, do we see now where Carlton and Lisa could be hooking back up?
I did think about that for a moment when they were sitting on the car.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm feeling the vibe.
Yeah. That would just be so messy.
I said, I'm going to have to eat my words because I thought they was getting ready to. I thought they was getting ready.
Yeah.
I have to eat my words.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But that would be so messy, though.
It will be messy because but it's going to create that triangle. It's going to create that triangle where it's back and forth between her and Will. And what I think is ultimately going to happen is him and Lisa are going to get back together, and Will's going to have an issue with that. Because once he finds out about Jackie, he's going to want to leave Jackie alone, and he's going to go back to Lisa, and Lisa's going to be moved on again. And guess who she's going to move on with? His cousin. I don't think it's over.
Well, in the words of Ray J, he had her first.
Oh my God.
He did have her first. And yes, she may be in love with Will, but guess what? Will has pretty much put her on ice. Will's put her on ice. So even though she still has feelings for Will, you see that she moved on with Drew. You see she was trying to start something up with Drew. So she's not going to sit around and wait for Will because she's in love with him. Yeah, you may still love a person, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to find their way back to each other. And I think that she's going to go down the road that she's already traveled down with Carlton again. But it's kind of like what Carlton said. I think it will be more out of sympathy than anything. I think that's what it's going to be. It's going to be one of those situations where it's going to be, I need to be there for him because nobody else is. And I feel like that Yasmin girl is going to try to come back around again and try to give him some play. And Carlton is done with her. Carlton, you see, he deleted her number out of his phone. Yep. He don't want that no more. He don't want that no more. That's the type of woman that he needed in his life.
Oh my gosh, she's not trash. She's some
I think the reason why he doesn't want to deal with her anymore too is remember what he said to Lisa. He said, "Another woman. I don't need another woman feeling sorry for me." So I think now he feels like because she knows that he feels like if she does call him or come back around, it's gonna be out of pity and not because he cares about him.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, very good point.
Good point. And so you're right. Somebody said in the comments not too long ago that Jackie has the most greatest timing in the world. Like she pull up on the drop of a dime. Like she knew exactly when to send that text in, and she just pulls Will into this little bubble. Like nobody else is watching. Like nobody else is in the world. It's just her and him.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he's mesmerized by, we find out that she's a ballet dancer and, you know, she's dancing and, you know, they have this little moment and they start making out or whatever the case may be. And of course, she mentions about her aspirations and how her uncle pushes her to be great. No grind, no grit, no great. And Will picked up on that. And so the next morning he goes home, he fixes the family breakfast, and he uses this as another attempt to try to sway Uncle Phil into letting him sign up for Doc's services or whatever the case may be. And he mentions no grind, no grit, no great. And then they go back down there, they give the tuition check. Go ahead, really be.
All right. The part I wanted to say something about. I mean, we talked about it, but when Uncle Phil when him and Will went down to the gym, and Uncle track, and when he was telling Will, "Let's go," and Will was like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" He was like, "We'll talk about it in the car." Here's an example of Will jumping, having a hot head, because if Uncle Phil didn't say we won't talk about it, Uncle Phil said let's get in. This is a conversation we're gonna have in this lobby while this man is still sitting there watching us. I need to talk to you. We'll talk about it in the car. And see, that's an example of kids, because he's still a damn kid. Kids need to just learn how to follow. Uncle Phil's going to talk to Will. He wasn't going to keep it a secret, but it was like, listen, let's get in the car. And Will had allowed Uncle Phil to explain, look at this contract. Like, I'm not trying to be rain on your parade. I'm not trying to be the mean guy, but look at this contract. Look at what he's trying to do. It's not about the money. I don't give a damn about that part. It's about what this man is trying to do to take advantage. Do I think he's going to give you opportunity? Yeah, it looks legit. It looks like he does have some great talent, but the haircuts ain't free. That haircut was off the backs of somebody that signed one of these damn contracts. And I feel like build up sometime and listen, because Uncle Phil really does have your best interest at heart. And so that's why I wanted to say my part. So I'm sorry, go back. Fast forward to where you were at the end when he convinces them to do it.
He convinces them to do it. They pull up with the check or whatever the case may be. And, Uncle Phil had made peace. He had made peace with it. He had did what he needed to do with the contract. And, he told him, he said, okay, but you're not going to get rich off my nephew. So you're going to get something, but you're not going to get rich off my nephew. So, at that point, Uncle Phil had made his peace. He had come to resolve. If this is what Will wants, if this was going to make my nephew happy, so be it. It's done. Until he turned around and looked on that darn wall and saw that sign or that phrase, no grind, no grit, no greatness. He was like, oh, manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
I did miss another point in the episode that I'm going to talk about real quick before we wrap up. So Uncle Phil learns that his partner, James, has been having meetings with other companies and other clients and the partners at the firm. And we learn that he is trying to negotiate an acquisition where their firm gets bought out by a larger firm. And Uncle Phil, of course, is not responsive to this. He's not receptive to this idea at all. But James does make a good point. When you left us, we lost half of our clients. You were the $1 million man. So you were no longer here to bring in that revenue that the firm needs to sustain itself. Either you're going to have to make something happen or we're going to bankrupt. What are y'all thoughts on this whole situation down at this law firm?
I mean, I knew it was coming and something was happening. Either they were pushing him out or they were doing some sort of M&A. So I expected it. I think Phil is probably gonna pull a stunt and maybe, I don't know, pull some strings so that he can keep the firm.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's gonna be interesting.
I'm gonna say this: if that's the real story, then I understand, because like Retro said, if that's the real story, then it makes sense. And I can't add to him saying, listen, we trying to keep the lights on. Like, you left and all this happened. But the flip side of that is I would say why wouldn't Uncle Phil know this? Like, if you're still, even if you're not at the firm, you don't see the reports, you don't see the quarterly statements. Like, he wasn't gone that long. Like, he was gone maybe a year.
Right.
Like, you didn't know that that people left when you left. Like, you didn't know the firm took a hit. So that's why I say, if it's true, then I definitely understand. But there's a part of me that feel like that ain't the whole story. I don't know.
That's part of the story. That's part of the story. And part of me can almost see that, okay, maybe Uncle Phil wasn't really focused on his business because he was so busy out doing his own thing. So maybe he wasn't keeping an eye on the firm as he should. Because you're absolutely right. He should have been able to see quarterly statements, financial statements. He should have been getting calls from clients saying, "Hey, I'm getting ready to drop your firm," or whatever the case may be. So, if he was just that distracted by the campaign and that vested into the campaign, and he turned his back on his business, then James is absolutely in the right for what he's trying to do to keep the firm. But I do feel like it's more so I'm trying to take over this joint.
That's what I feel.
Yeah.
That's what it gives me.
So I think it's a mixture of both, but really it's self-motivating. It's self-motivating. And at the end of the day, you're a billionaire. I'm not. So, you don't need this. The rest of us do. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Any other points in this episode that we want to talk about? Any predictions for next week? I don't think I have any predictions for this next week either.
I think we're going to get more information. The only prediction I have for next week, because again, we will be halfway through the season. We might get a little bit more from Jeffrey and find out maybe what's going on there. But other than that, honestly, I don't really have nothing.
That's all I really want to see too. I want to see what's going on with Jeffrey. I need them to use Ashley for more than a plot device.
Oh, that's so true.
That is so true. I need them to flush out Ashley's character development just a little bit more. She's a very beautiful young lady, and I need more substance with Ashley's character.
Yeah.
And they're trying to give us a little bit of that because now they're finally building that relationship between her and Will. But I need more. Especially when y'all opened the door with her trying to find herself last season, and that has been just forgotten about this season.
Right.
I need them to do more character development with her. I think that I agree with what Really B said, that I think we're going to get a little bit more insight on what's going on with Jeffrey. And I think things may come ahead or a blow up between Ivy and Hillary is on the horizon.
Definitely. And then the breakup with Hillary and Tupac lookalike.
Do you see that coming? Are you predicting that there's going to be a breakup between?
Yeah, I'm predicting that.
I think they break up at the end of the season. I think that's going to be a plot that a storyline that carries over into season 3 if there's a season 3. I think this is going to drag on all season. I think towards the end they'll break up.
Yeah,
actually,
I think the breakup.
Go ahead, Really.
No, I was gonna say I think the breakup is gonna be connected to the Ivy situation when that blows up. I think it's gonna be
Yeah, because it's going to be all out war between her and Ivy, and I think Ivy's going to circle right back around, and pull right back up on Jazz.
Yeah,
but I think I even seen in the trailer for this season that Hillary's going to have an ex-boyfriend that's going to pop up out of the woodwork.
Yeah, I did see that.
I think there's going to be some conflict between her. Yep. All right, guys. Well, drop your predictions in the comments. Thank y'all for tuning in with us tonight. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Especially like the video. I mean, it's free. And it's a great way to support our channel. And Belle, go ahead and plug yourself in.
Check me out at the Bell Perspective TV. I am reviewing lots and lots of reality TV shows. And this new one that's coming up, Queen's Court on Peacock with Evelyn Lozada, Nivea, and Tamar Braxton. I'll be reviewing that on my channel.
And aren't you doing Queens of R&B right now too?
I am also doing Queens of R&B as well. I
Okay.
love that show. It's so good.
Yeah, I've been in both of y'all comments all week about it. I might have to get on one of y'all panels and talk with y'all about that
I
because I
thought we
have some
was gonna
thoughts.
do one. I thought we
We've
was
been
gonna
talking about it. Me and Really B have been talking about it. We hadn't got around to discussing whether or not we're going to cover it on the channel, but I definitely think that we need to have a conversation about it because it's just so much. It's so much to talk about where that's concerned.
Every
That's
day,
real reality.
there was
TV.
another interview today. Every day. Okay. Mr. Moore Studio and that Bel-Air was renewed for season 3 today. That was announced today. So yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
now
great
we're
news.
looking at what's going to carry us over to the next season. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
great news. Hey, thank you, Mr. Moore Studios, for that update. That's great news that we've been renewed
Yeah.
for season 3 already. That's great. And we're only on episode 4, so that's great that we got the announcement already.
Yeah. But they need to tighten up on this writing, though. It's too predictable.
Yeah, they need to do something about this writing. Or better yet, they need to call us over there to that writer's room and let us give them some.
Yes, call us. I
Yeah.
have wonderful stories. I can write you
We got
something.
some stories to give y'all. For those of you who are watching Power Book 2 Ghost season 3, y'all come on back. Come on back Sunday at 6 p.m. We'll be doing our live episode review and recap. I think we're going to drop a quick thoughts tonight on the channel. So y'all make sure y'all check that out. We got some things to talk about, guys. All right, y'all. If we don't got any more housekeeping for the week, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this week. All right, ladies. Well, I will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.